Before we dig in, a quick thank you to the sponsors ready to grow with the Soil Sisters. Tejas Tonic is the official beverage of the Texas Soil Sisters. We especially love that the hemp for Tejas Tonic is organically farmed in the Texas Hill Country, with farms in both Dripping Springs and Lukenbach, Texas. The Soil Sisters podcast is powered by B&P Electric. Whether you're building, remodeling, installing low-voltage landscape lighting, or in need of an inspection, B&P is your Central Texas electrical contractor. Find links to our sponsors in the podcast show notes or head over to txsoilsisters.co. You're listening to the Soil Sisters podcast, where we dig in on family farming and ranching, regenerative agriculture, healthy living, and planting seeds in our community. We invite you to listen, subscribe, and grow with the Soil Sisters. Hi, y'all. I'm Joanna Newting, joined by my blood, soul, and soil sister, Crystal. We are at day 2 of the Southern Family Farmers and Food Systems Conference, chatting live right now with Matthew Batchelder. He is the founder of Fun-guy Compost. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure.
So excited to have you. I am all about the compost. And so, yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I can't wait.
And we're not just talking about compost, folks. We're talking about Johnson Sioux bioreactors.
Yes. Yes, it's a different form of compost. And actually, we almost consider it not really a compost because it doesn't have a whole lot of nutrients in it, but it's a living seed inoculant.
Yes.
So what we're learning is that we want to incorporate some type of life, some microbial life, every time we plant, whenever we plant. So again, new information that we're learning, the microbial level of farming, and it's exciting. There's so much potential. Yes.
So you build bioreactors for clients.
We do workshops. I haven't done a whole lot of that yet. We're building them for ourselves to get compost out there to share with small farmers. But we do offer workshops for individuals and groups, especially community farms, to just get the information out. Again, this is new information, and we're learning how to incorporate it. And what a challenge it really is. Yes.
Yeah. Where are you located?
So we're developing the compost outside of Houston in Tomball, Texas.
Okay.
I actually live near Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay.
So I travel down frequently, especially I spend a lot of time in the winter. That's when the leaves are falling. I'm gathering leaves and making the compost just out of leaves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
With these bioreactors.
Excellent.
So you're doing this work in Texas and New Mexico.
I'm not doing a lot of building of the bioreactors in New Mexico because you have to keep them from freezing. And I live at over 6,000 feet, and that's difficult to do in January.
Yeah.
Got it.
So Houston is a much easier place to maintain a more stable climate or temperature for the bioreactors.
Okay. Well, what
Excellent.
got you into this?
So I went to a New Mexico organic farming conference in 2018, and I went to Dr. David Johnson's lecture. And as a student of geosciences, I got a degree at the University of Houston. I learned a lot about the history of life, and Dr. David Johnson really gave me an overall picture on how life has developed and changed on the planet, and how that impacts what's going on, and just he connected all the dots for me, and I was convinced that this was what we needed to do. And so I ran home and built my first bioreactor in early March in New Mexico, and it was really cold, and you have to wash the leaves. So it didn't matter. I was determined, and I've been building bioreactors ever since. I'm thoroughly convinced that it's a key component to building healthy soil.
Yes.
Okay, so then let's talk about the components of a successful bioreactor. You just mentioned needing to wash the leaves. So
Yes.
let's jump in there.
It's a fairly simple device. We call them bioreactors, but really it's just a cage lined with landscaping fabric sitting on a pallet. You put some extra PVC pipes in the middle because you don't want any of the pile to be less than 12 inches from oxygen. And so aeration is a huge process. And then you have to water it daily to maintain moisture levels of 70%. And so that's the biggest challenge, but you usually only need a couple gallons. You water for briefly 1 to 5 minutes until the water drips out, and that maintains your moisture levels. Again, doing this daily, and then keeping it from freezing. Washing the leaves is the key component because it helps you sift out the detritus, the sticks, the rocks, so then you just have clean leaves. Dr. Johnson says he can tell if someone has not washed the leaves when he looks at your compost under a microscope, because what happens is there's a lot of dirt, and that ends up choking the microbes, and so it's less effective. So, washing leaves is truly a labor of love.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a key component to the process. People have used a number of different inputs, but I'm finding that dried leaves are the most productive. You can use straw. The reason I don't use any manures is because then if you use any kind of manures, you have to test it. You have to get a temperature, a hydrophilic temperature of 150 degrees for, I think, 2 weeks, and to kill off some of the bacteria. And and then trying to wash cow dung, I couldn't see how that would work. So I do not include any of that component. And so it's just leaf material. And you'd be amazed at what you get after a year of it aging. I call it black gold. It's just this beautiful black product. I've got some over at the table that I'd love to show you. So,
well, we did sneak by there before we recorded, took a few pictures.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it does look great. So, yeah, our friend Troy Swift at Swift River Pecans, he showed us his bioreactors when we were out at his place. And everyone uses what they have available on their property. Right. And so he was using wood chips from his pecans and, doing his experiment, trying different things, and was surprised and excited to figure out that just the plain pecan wood chips with nothing else in it was the most successful for him.
Yeah.
So
gave him the best biology. He has Andy Marsh that tests the biology. And so she's tested all the piles, and the one with just wood,
the simplest,
was the one that had the most diversity of the microbes.
Oh, awesome. Yes.
I love it.
Well, and so you saying, you use leaves only and you wash them. First of all, how are you washing the leaves? You're just like making a big pile and hosing them down. What does that look like?
Part of the washing process is not only to rinse the leaves off, but then to saturate them completely. And ideally, you want to kind of crack the leaves to get some creases so the bacteria can get in and to begin breaking them down. Dr. David Johnson recommends driving over the leaves. What I do is when I put them in an old jacuzzi tub, I fill an old jacuzzi tub with a bag of leaves full of water. And then I actually inoculate the water with some of my older compost. So as I'm washing the leaves, it's getting inoculated with some of my microbial compost. And then I'm scrunching the leaves in the tub before I
He's making
dry
a
them.
massaging motion with his hands
just trying to get them cracked. It's a good exercise for my forearms. And then what you do is I've got a little rig set up to where I've got a wheelbarrow slant tilted so I can put the washed leaves into the wheelbarrow, and then the water will drain back into the tub. And so then you fill the wheelbarrow with your washed leaves, and then as it's draining, you put another bag of leaves into the tub. So then you can begin that next process, get them good and saturated. And then by that time, the leaves have drained, and then you load them into the bioreactor. Dr. Johnson uses a 5-gallon bucket. I usually stand on some scaffolding and just do it by hand. So
what's the size of the bioreactor that you found is Optimum?
So Dr. Johnson, I just followed his recipe, him and his wife's recipe, and they just use a standard pallet, a 40-inch by 4-foot pallet. And so you put a cage you use this remesh that's 60 inches wide and make a cage out of that. You can find it at any hardware store. The whole idea is to be able to get the materials easily anywhere on the planet to then build these bioreactors. And so...
And how tall is it, did you say?
60 inches
plus
the pallet. So you have to get some kind of scaffolding to work to get the material in.
Yeah.
It's difficult even at 6 foot to reach in and do much work with it. So yeah, 5 foot.
At 5'4", I concur.
Right. Yes. Yes.
I have 2 bioreactors in my backyard.
Oh, good.
And one of them is 5 feet tall, and then there's another one that's a little smaller one. So
I recommend the smaller size for small farmers because the big ones will produce up to 500 pounds of compost in a year. And Dr. Johnson recommends you only need 1 to 2 pounds per acre when used as a seed inoculant. So you think about it, one of these bioreactors on a pallet within a year can produce potentially enough compost to inoculate a square mile of land.
That's amazing
wonderful
for small farmers and ranchers to hear.
So much potential.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 tablespoon literally holds millions of microbes in different species.
Yeah.
So the biodegradation process is happening over the course of a year. And so the microbiology is increasing that whole time. What happens if you leave it longer than a year? Does anything negative start happening, or is it just still compounding?
Great question. So based on Dr. Johnson's research, it found that after 12 months, the compost is mature. But if you continue allowing it to progress, in the next 2 months, you'll even get more diversity.
Excellent.
But then you kind of reach a maximum point. It's consumed most of the material. You do not continue to add material. You just let it sit. And so then you have to store it. And he says you can store it up to 4 years. I really like the idea of it being living and trying to get it out to farmers soon after it's complete.
Yeah.
So that's my push, is to try and get it out quickly. Yes.
So 12 to 14 months.
Correct.
And then it's time to either use it or store it.
Correct.
If someone decides to store it, what's the optimum storage?
Creating a smaller bioreactor. You can put 2 or 3 bioreactors of product into a smaller one, and then continue watering it daily and keep it from freezing. So just maintaining moisture levels and not letting it freeze. So
now, when we're talking about maintaining a moisture level of 70%,
yes.
Are we just eyeballing that, or are you putting something in to check your moisture levels?
Being in Houston with humidity levels stable at 90%, I am not measuring it. So yes, I am eyeballing it and trying to make sure I get moisture on it daily. Okay. Yes. Great question.
So what was Matt doing before he started building bioreactors?
A lot of things. I'd been teaching in the public schools. I love education, and I believe that, especially now with the new understanding we have, that this is an educational process. So yeah, I spent time in education, and I'm still doing that to support the business. But this is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about, and so doing workshops and getting in front of small farmers and sharing the information is my biggest push right now.
All right, sister, I know you're a compost queen. Jump in here with anything you have to ask.
I heard that you add red wigglers to your compost.
That's correct. And so I didn't include this in my presentation yesterday. I missed a few items. But yes, so after you've completed filling the bioreactor, you have these PVC tubes in there that just hold, or placeholders. And then after 3 to 5 days, you remove the tubes, and they're actually going to be warm. It begins a thermophilic stage almost instantaneously. And so for 2 to 3 weeks, it'll reach temperatures of up to 150 degrees. And then after that, it'll settle down. And when you get down to, ambient temperature, then you want to add red wigglers, Dr. Johnson, or any type of worms, really. Dr. Johnson recommends up to 100 worms per standard bioreactor. I'm just buying worms from the bait shop, from Academy.
Yeah.
But I'd like to include that a worm farm in our project because worm castings are great also. And so, yes, it is a vermicompost. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that was one of the videos that I'd watched from Dr. David Johnson. he was saying there were 4 major components that if you do this, you can't break it, kind of a thing. And it's the completely aerobic environment, the 70% moisture content, undisturbed, not doing anything with it, and then the red wigglers. And I had not heard that part before.
Right.
And so when Troy was over here visiting with us yesterday, I asked him, do you add red wigglers to your bioreactor?
Yes.
And he said, I don't, but they make their way to it.
They find it.
Yeah.
He said they're climbing up his pallets, which is amazing. Yes. Yeah.
I love it.
I think that's fascinating, especially when you're first starting it. And it makes way more sense to me with you making yours out of leaves.
Right.
And so they're breaking down faster than those wood chips. And so I feel like including the red wigglers in your system makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And maybe like it would need to go a little longer for my wood chips because I didn't notice mine getting hot.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it may have a little bit, but your leaves are going to get way hotter. City of Lockhart does free mulch delivery.
Okay.
So you just call them and they'll just come and dump a...
Wonderful.
I know. I love it.
Yes.
It's like money in the bank. I just look at it. I'm so
Great
excited.
resource.
Yes. So that's what I built mine out of. And I didn't notice too much heat. But yeah, those leaves breaking down, and especially if you're already inoculating them with some biology,
yes,
that's fantastic.
I've had some people have issues with it not reaching a thermophilic level, and I think a lot of that has to do with oxygen levels.
Yeah.
I don't pack the leaves down. I just shake the tubes to kind of let it settle. And the wet leaves, they're as you continue to fill it, it's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so it packs itself. But that's why I don't shred the leaves also, because you get better airflow.
Right.
And I think airflow can be an issue with not reaching a thermophilic stage.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens with the temperature, after it's through the thermophilic phase and you're just allowing time and nature to do what it does, and you live somewhere where it's getting 100, 115 degrees outside, how does that affect the bioreactor, and is there certain things that we should do in our hotter climates for that?
So yes, it's going to have a negative impact on fungal development. Those temperatures are a little too high. So what can we do? Obviously, think about where mushrooms grow. They grow around trees and in the shade. So putting the bioreactor in a shaded area. We are actually going to start, we're going to build a cover for ours, a rain catchment pole barn, essentially to have more control of the water, because in Houston, they're getting, large rains that can essentially almost wash some of the microbes out. So that's one of our pushes, is to have more control of the water flow. And the shade will also keep it cooler. So yeah, those temperatures can be detrimental, but if anything else, it just slows the process. So you might have to extend a little longer than your 12 months, but you'd be amazed, even at 9 months, a lot of it will already be broken down and ready to put to use.
Yep.
And I haven't peeked into your bioreactor lately, sister, because I need a ladder, but what's it looking like?
It is almost halfway down.
Right. Okay, and how long did it take?
When did we do that? In October of last year, maybe? So, very exciting.
Yeah, it should get down to maybe only a foot tall, after your year.
Okay.
And there won't be many leaves left. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yeah, well, or whatever your material you used, yes.
I put my cover on the outside of my wire instead of on the inside, so it's not perfect, but it was my first attempt, and I know that I'm going to get good stuff out of it.
Yeah.
But so I can see the wood chips are not broken down, like there's a little
the outer edges.
Overlap, and I'm just like, take the inner and use that to start more. Or continue.
Yeah. So the good stuff is in the middle.
Exactly.
Yes. And so that's a nice protective layer to maintain moisture.
Yeah.
Dr. Johnson recommends a 5-ounce landscaping fabric which if you go on Amazon, they don't have that. And it's hard to find, but they have 4 ounce and 6 ounce. He recommends at least a 5 ounce. So I'm using a 6 ounce landscaping fabric, and I'm finding that it maintains moisture levels much better than the thinner stuff that you can get at Lowe's or at a hardware store.
Okay.
So,
which will be better for
5 ounce,
that Texas heat.
Exactly. I love it. I'm writing this down.
So, sister, yours, did you use wood chips and leaves?
In my smaller one, I threw some leaves in because they were right there with the stuff. But the big one was straight wood chips. And then the smaller one is mostly wood chips with just, like I said, there was a pile and so they all went in.
Right.
All right. So you've been building these since 2018.
Yes.
Has your system changed of like maybe what time of year you start them? Does any of that stuff matter?
Wow, great question. I do have people in the New Mexico area, some farmers that are interested. And so we've been talking about the timing. You know, obviously you get your leaves in the fall, but there in New Mexico, they're ready for compost in the spring. They primarily have one growing season, one long summer, and so they want compost in the spring. And so if you build them in the fall, when you have your leaves, then you've got to essentially go through 2 winters to tend to this compost. And so I recommend waiting until spring to build your bioreactors, so then it comes ready in February or March when you're ready to start planting. So yeah, that's a great question. I think in colder climates, I would recommend after the winter to build your bioreactors. Here in South Texas, winter is a good time to build them, just because of the resources, and there's not as much concern about the freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
You know, if you get below freezing for a few days, that's not such a big deal as if it's freezing for weeks on end. So.
All right. So you're not necessarily building these for other people. You are kind of stewarding folks through the process of building their own bioreactors. But through Fun-guy Compost, people can actually buy your compost?
Absolutely. We have a website, funguycompost.com, where you can order compost online. Since you only need 1 to 2 pounds per acre, and we're supporting or promoting our small farms, we recommend to just order it when you're ready to plant. If you order it early in the week, we can ship it and have it to you by the end of the week. We believe it has a shelf life of multiple weeks, but I recommend using it as quickly as possible, and because you still need to water it almost daily and to maintain those moisture levels, and it can be a challenge, you know. So yeah, it's important to think about when you're planting, and allow me to store it for you, and then purchase it when you're ready. Yes.
I love that because I am not a good storer. I want to get it and use it.
Right. Right.
Although I am a little bit of a hoarder with some of my stuff. I'm like, okay, I use all that, and then I'm just going to keep this little bit. But
sure.
Anyway, I think I love the idea of getting it and using it. Like, let's just quit stockpiling things and keep it rolling.
Yeah. And again, our big push is to get farmers to only plant with microbiology, to get some kind of life, fungus and bacteria associated with these seeds prior to putting them in the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about seed inoculation for a minute, and the benefits of that and how it jumpstarts the process.
So as soon as the seed sprouts, if it is inoculated with microbial life, then the certain fungi will attach to those roots and begin working with the plants, and they're doing an exchange.
Yeah.
The fungus wants the carbon that the plant's bringing in from the air, and obviously the plants want their elements from the fungus, and so they're doing an exchange. It's a symbiotic relationship, and unfortunately, most industrial food is grown without microbial life, and it's grown in essentially non-living dirt.
Yeah.
And so that's why we get soil depletion, because it's the microbes that are building the soil. And Dr. Johnson, who's not even a farmer, he was building an inch of soil a year just by using microbes. And he only added it once. In 7 years, he had 7 inches of fresh soil that wasn't there previously.
Yeah.
So there is so much potential with this.
Well, and the plant knows that the biology is on that seed.
Right.
And so therefore it immediately says, oh, I need to feed you. So the fungi attaches to the roots, but then also the plant starts producing the sugars that's feeding the microbes, and it knows what to do. And when you chemically fertilize, the natural process that the plant goes through, it doesn't know to go through it because they're not there. So they're just like, okay, give me more, give me more, give me more, instead of this reciprocity, and I give to you and you give to me, and we just keep rolling. So it's so powerful. It's so important.
Right. And this is part of the educational process. I mean, the fact that we're talking about these symbiotic relationships, I mean, this is new stuff, and it's really, it's exciting. Yeah. So there's so much potential in that. This is all I want to talk about.
Me too. It really is. Yes. I could talk about these things all day, every day, and I do. And plenty of people are like, okay.
And you guys are, again, you're amplifying this and you're getting the word out, and that's powerful.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the 1 to 2 pounds of compost per acre.
Yes.
We are blending that with, I mean, in our brains, we're saying structured water. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're putting it in a liquid form and you're going to spray it or whatever. So what's the recipe that you recommend?
Okay. So, there's a difference between compost extracts and compost teas. Obviously, this is a living compost, so you're not going to make a tea. You're not going to heat it. Really, the water is just to dilute it and help the spreading of it. Dr. Johnson actually recommends a cup of milk and with a tablespoon of molasses melted in to mix into your 5-gallon bucket of water when you go to add. I'm adding a 1/4 cup of this compost to a 5-gallon bucket to then thin it and stir it. And the milk and molasses will kind of jumpstart, give it a little food there right before you apply it. Different ways to apply. Dr. Johnson recommends, if you're using large seeds like a corn or a bean, to just make a pancake batter consistency with water out of your seed inoculant. Mm-hmm. Put your seeds right into that, mix it, and then plant wet immediately. Obviously, it's easier by hand to plant wet. If you're using any type of machinery, you have to dry the seeds, laying it out on a tarp, letting it dry in the sun so it doesn't clog up your seeders or whatnot, your implements. Now, smaller seeds are going to be different, more like a lettuce seed or a carrot seed. You're going to make that extract, and you're going to want to pour it into the furrow, get it into the ground prior to seeding that furrow, and then covering it quickly. Dr. Johnson recommends only 20 minutes in the liquid because the microbes will drown.
Yeah.
I think you can leave them longer if you have to, but the whole idea is to mix it and use it. Again, it's a living organism, to treat it with care. Yeah. Great care, yes.
I love that. I never have tried to make a tea.
Okay.
Because I'm like, why would I do that? That takes a lot of work. And what I learned, I took the soil food web, Elaine Ingham's course.
Yes.
Is like, you're literally just growing whatever likes that environment. Right. Any kind of tea, like you're immediately, the people who like the environment are going to thrive and everyone else is going to try to drop off. So anyway, extract is that's the way to go.
Yes, good. So that's real quick. I don't know if you've talked much about the 5 principles of soil stewardship, but number 3 is maximize biodiversity. And as farmers, the first thing we think about is increasing our plant varieties. Mm-hmm. But we need to understand that we need to increase diversity of all kingdoms. Mm-hmm. There's a new trend to, instead of referring to them as kingdoms, to refer to them as kingdoms, because we are all interrelated.
Yeah.
And so the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the fungal kingdom, again, we all have genetics that are linked. And so I like the idea of referring to them as kingdoms, and we need to increase diversity of all of them. And so this living compost allows you to increase your diversity at the microbial level, which is just as important as increasing our diversity of our animals and plant species on our farms and ranches.
Well, and when we increase microbial diversity, we literally offer more diversity, like being able to support more diversity of plants, of animals, of people. Like it's the building block. If that's not there, then you can't. But if it is there, you can.
That's
and
right.
It can grow exponentially.
That's right. Yes.
So fun.
Yes. And Dr. Johnson uses another phrase, quorum sensing.
Yes.
And we're finding that the more diverse species you get together, they can begin to perform different functions as a group. And so again, just increasing diversity. This is how we're going to clean up some of these messes that we've created, is with microbes.
Yep.
You know, their job is to break down anything on the planet and make it accessible to plants.
Yes.
And so even if we have microplastics in our soils, in our compost, their job is, if you get the right microbes together, is to break this down and make it accessible to plants. So much potential.
The bacteria, they literally take in the DNA into their own system. And this is why it's like, stop worrying about things. Like, just nature knows how to do this. That's why bacteria can break down, rocks and plastics and stuff, mushrooms breaking down the plastics. They literally take in, and so then you can never kill them, because what do they just adjust and they adapt and they grow. They take whatever is around them into them. So it's just like nature already knows what to do. We don't have to worry. We don't have to struggle. We just have to figure out where we fit into the equation and jump in and help. So that's, you're doing such a wonderful thing.
Well,
and I love it.
Thank you. And y'all are too. This is fantastic.
When you talk about, these are the sorts of things that can fix a lot of the things that we have broken as humans. Well, the majority of the things that have been broken in agriculture have been done by large-scale conventional farming. So how do we take this from a backyard or a market garden or a 1 acre or a 2 acre, and how do we now apply this to a 200 acre, 5,000 acre situation?
So the same concepts apply with seed inoculation, no matter the scale. The biggest part will be the educational process for the industrial farmers to take a hold of this, and because the reality is everything we need is on our own land. And so if we can begin to understand how to manipulate what we have to then produce these microbes, or produce isn't the word I'm looking for. It's actually attract. We're building homes and creating the food source, and it's everywhere. Every leaf on every tree, every blade of grass has fungus on it. It's everywhere. We're breathing it in. And so we just need to learn to propagate it. And again, you use nature, and yes, we need to be students of nature. That was what I wanted to mention, is that, to study nature and not try and control it, but how can we promote the natural processes of life and in our own worlds, on our own land, and to me that's gonna change everything.
So with the conventional machines and things that we use, does it damage the microbiology to put through the seeders and the large scale sprayers and things like that?
Yes, any kind of amendment that's inorganic is going to have a detrimental effect. Even nitrogen is going to have a detrimental effect on your microbial life in the soils. So, the first step with this compost is to eliminate nitrogen usage by the farmers. And if we can get them to do that, then they can see profitability by not having to purchase these items. So, obviously you want to increase production, but that's a process. We've got to heal our soils before we can really increase production. But we can get farmers to increase profitability by reducing some of their amendments, using microbial life instead of these inert additives, amendments.
And spraying, when we spray these amendments, the biology, you don't want to spray is it 110 PSI? You don't want any 90-degree angles in your spray material.
And that's what I was asking, was more of like the application through industrial equipment. Is the PSI of the sprayers or the nozzles or all that stuff, does it
have a negative effect on the microbial life? There's still that's out. We're still studying that and trying to understand how it's impacted, but we're learning it still is productive. There's an implement called a seed drill for those of us that can't get out of our tractors. It's a non-tilling seeder, and it has sprayers as part of the implement, and so instead of spraying a fertilizer, you can spray a microbial-rich compost into your furrows before covering it. You get a much better result. Ideally, that's the long-term solution. So these that still like to use their tractors, we can use these no seed drills. And so yes, the tractors do cause compaction, but again, if we're promoting the microbial life in the soils, they can handle that. And it's a minor impact, the compaction anyway.
Because that's the thing is, if we want these farmers who've been doing it a certain way to transition, we need to make sure they can still do it their way, use the same equipment. And so it makes it a lot easier to achieve when we're not asking them to completely change their system.
Right. Yes.
So during this conference, I don't know if it's for the conference or just for the listeners of the podcast, but Matt is offering some Funguy microbial-rich compost for $50, 1 pound of it for $50. It's typically $75. Is this something you're offering to everyone at the conference?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And if you are listening to this show in 2 or 3 months, you can still go to funguycompost.com. Tell him you heard him on the Soil Sisters podcast, and I bet he'll cut you a sweet deal.
Absolutely. Yes. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. What a treat.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything we didn't ask you that you think is very important to round out this conversation?
I don't think so. Just to stress practicing the 5 principles of soil stewardship and inoculating all seeds and transplants before planting.
All right. Well, thanks for being a fun guy, Matt.
Thank you, Joanna. Crystal, what a pleasure. Thank you.
Connect with the Soil Sisters at txsoilsisters.co. Submit questions, guest or show ideas, and sponsorship inquiries. The Soil Sisters podcast was created and produced by Joanna Nuding. Editing and sound design are in the capable hands of the PodConnects Podcast Network.